Welcome to Tech Girl Kannada YouTube channel. Power supplies. Draw the block diagram of a DC power supply showing its principal components. Explain the function of each block. Block diagram of DC power supply. Step down transformer, rectifier, reservoir or smoothing filter, voltage regulator. It is high voltage AC, step down transformer, low voltage AC, rectifier, and smooth. Power supplies. Draw the block diagram of a DC power supply showing its principal component. Explain the function of each block. High voltage AC, low voltage AC, unsmoothed AC, smoothed AC, regulated AC, step down transformer, rectifier, reservoir or smoothing filter, voltage regulator, high voltage AC, step down transformer, low voltage AC, rectifier, unsmoothed DC, reservoir or smoothing filter, smoothed DC, regulated DC by voltage regulator. Block diagram of DC power supply. Block diagram of DC power supply showing each component. High voltage AC, step down transformer, that is this. Rectifier, 4 diodes in Kirchhoff form. Unsmoothed DC, then reservoir or smoothing factor is just like capacitor. Then voltage regulator. The block diagram of DC power supply is shown in figure 6.1 since the main input is at relatively high voltage. Step down transformer of appropriate trans ratio is used to convert this to low voltage. The AC output from the transformer secondary in is then rectified using conventional silicon rectifier diodes to produce an unsmoothed or pulsating DC output. Next, this is then smoothed and filtered before being applied to a circuit which will regulate the output voltage so that it remains relatively constant in spite of variations in both load current and incoming mains voltage. Figure 6.2 shows how some of the electronic component that we have already met can be used in the realization of the block diagram in Fig 6.1. The iron core step-down transformer feeds a rectifier arrangement. Output of the rectifier is then applied to a high-value reservoir or capacitor. This capacitor stores a considerable amount of charge and is being constantly topped up by the rectifier arrangement. Capacitor also helps to smooth out the voltage pulses produced by the rectifiers. Finally, a stabilizing circuit often based on a series transistor regulator and a Zener diode voltage reference provides a constant output voltage. Rectifiers. What is rectifier? Explain the working of half-wave rectifier with C filter. Rectifier definition. Rectifiers are semiconductor diodes commonly used to convert alternating current to direct current, in which case they are referred to as rectifiers. Simplest form of rectifier circuit make use of single diode. Since it operates on only either positive or negative half cycles of the supply, it is known as half-wave rectifier. Half-wave rectifier circuit. Figure 6.4 shows a simple half-wave rectifier circuit. Mains voltage 220 to 240 volt is applied to the primary of the step-down transformer T1, primary of step-down transformer T1. The secondary of the T1 step-down the 240 volt VRMS to 12 VRMS. The turns ratio of transformer 1 will thus be 240 by 12, that is 20:1. 20:1. Next, simple half-wave rectifier circuit diagram. Explanation. Diode D1 will allow only the current to flow in the direction shown from cathode to anode. D1 will be forward biased during each positive half cycle, will effectively behave like a closed switch. When current tries to flow in the opposite direction, the voltage bias across diode will be reversed, causing the diode to act an open switch. half-wave rectifier, current flow, no current flow. Half-wave rectifier with circuit with the D1 conducting positive going half cycles of secondary voltage. Half-wave rectifier with D1 not conducting negative going half cycles of the secondary voltage. Then during positive half cycle, a diode will drop the 0.6 volt to 0.7 volt forward threshold voltage. Normally associated with silicon diodes, during negative half cycle, the peak AC voltage will be dropped across D1 when it is reverse biased. Assuming that the secondary of D1 provides 12 VRMS, the peak voltage output from the transformer's secondary winding will be given by VPK is equals to 1.414 VRMS, which is 1.414 into 12. 16.97 volts. Peak voltage applied to D1 will thus be approximately 17 volts. The negative half cycles are blocked by D1 and thus only the positive half cycles appear across RL. Note, however, that the actual peak voltage across RL will be the 17 volt positive peak being supplied from the secondary on T1 minus the 0.7 forward threshold voltage dropped by D1. The main transform. Reservoir and smoothing circuits. Figure 6.6 shows the considerable improvement to the circuit of figure 1. The capacitor C1 has been added to ensure that the output voltage remains at or near the peak voltage even when the diode is not conducting. Simple half-wave rectifier with reservoir capacitor. Reservoir capacitor working. When the primary voltage is first applied to T1, the first positive half cycle output from the secondary will charge C1 to the peak value seen across RL, and C1 charges to 16.3 at the peak of the positive half cycle because C1 and RL are in parallel. The voltage across RL will be the same at the across C1. The time required for C1 to charge to the maximum level is determined by the charging circuit time constant, the series resistance multiplied by the capacitance value. In this circuit, the series resistance together with the forward resistance of the diode and the minimal resistance of the wiring and connections, and C1 charges very rapidly as soon as T1 starts to conduct. The time required for C1 to discharge is, in contrast, very much greater. The discharge time constant is determined by the capacitor value and the load resistance RL. In practice, RL is very much larger than the resistance of the secondary circuit and hence takes an appreciable time to discharge. That is shown in the given figure. This T1 secondary voltage plus 17 volt OB 17 volt voltage across RL without C1 present. It is pulsating 0 volt. Voltage across RL with C1 present at ripple 0 volt. Simple half-wave rectifier with reservoir capacitor. Shows the secondary voltage waveform together with the voltage developed across RL with and without C1 present. This gives rise to small variation in DC output voltage known as ripple. Since ripple is undesirable, we must take additional precautions to reduce it. Half-wave rectifier circuit with RNC smoothing filter. With the neat circuit diagram, explain working of HWR with RC filter. Shows further refinement of the simple power supply circuit. This circuit employs two additional components, that is R1 and C1, which acts as a filter to remove the ripple. The value of C1 is chosen so that the component exhibits a negligible resistance at the ripple frequency. 50 Hz for a half-wave rectifier, 100 Hz for a full-wave rectifier. In effect, R1 and C1 act like a potential divider. The amount of ripple is produced by an appropriate factor equal to XC by root of r square plus xc square. Half-wave rectifier circuit with RC smoothing filter. Next, explain the working of half-wave rectifier with LC filter. Shows the circuit of half-wave power supply with an LC smoothing circuit. At the ripple frequency, L1 executes a high value of inductive reactance, while C1 executes a low value of capacitive reactance. The combined effect is that an alternator which greatly reduces the amplitude of the ripple while having a negligible effect on the direct voltage. Half-wave rectifier circuit with LC smoothing filter. Here there is T1 and D1, capacitor 1, L1, and again capacitor 1, RL. Rectifiers. There are two basic forms of full wave rectifiers: biphase type, bridge rectifier type. Working of biphase rectifier circuit with C filter. Biphase rectifier circuit. Figure 6.10 shows a simple biphase rectifier circuit. Main voltage 240 is applied to the primary and step-down transformer T1, which has two identical secondary windings, each providing 12 volt RMS. Turns ratio will thus be 240 by 12, 20:1 for each secondary winding. Positive half cycle and positive half cycles. Point A will be positive with respect to point B. Similarly, point B will be positive with respect to point C. In this condition, D1 will allow conduction. Its anode will be negative with respect to its cathode. This D1 alone conducts on positive half cycles. Transformer A, B, C, T1, D1 and D2. VAB is 12 volts, VBC is 12 volts, RL 240 volts AC supply. Biphase rectifier circuit. A and B. A is biphase rectifier with D1 conducting and D2 non-conducting. B is biphase rectifier with D2 conducting and D1 non-conducting. Negative half cycle. A negative half cycle, point C will be positive with respect to point B and point B will be positive with respect to point A. In this condition, D2 will allow conduction, its anode will be positive with respect to cathode, while D1 will not allow conduction, its anode will be negative with respect to its cathode. Thus, D2 alone conducts on negative half cycle. 6.11 shows the biphase rectifier circuit with the diodes replaced by switches. D1 is shown conducting on a positive half cycle, while in figure, D2 is shown conducting. The result is that current is routed through the load in the same direction on successive half cycles. Biphase rectifier with reservoir capacitor. It is C filter. Reservoir capacitor connected. Figure 6.1 shows the biphase rectifier reservoir capacitor C1 can be added to ensure that output voltage remains at or near the peak voltage, even when the diodes are not conducting. This component operates in exactly the same way as the half-wave circuit. That is, it charges to approximately 16.3 volts at the peak of the positive half cycle and holds the voltage at this level when the diodes are in their non-conducting states. Capacitor charge time. The time required for C1 to charge to the maximum level is determined as the charging circuit time. Constant. The series resistance multiplied by capacitance value. In this circuit, the series resistance comprises the secondary winding resistance together with the forward resistance of the diode, the minimal resistance of the wiring and connections, hence C1 charges very rapidly as soon as either D1 and D2 starts to conduct. Capacitor discharge time. The discharge time contrast is determined by the capacitance value and the load resistance. RL, in practice, RL is very much larger than the resistance of the secondary circuit, and hence C1 takes an appreciable time to discharge. During this time, D1 and D2 will be reverse biased when held in non-conducting state. As a consequence, the only discharge path for C1 is through RL. 6.13 shows voltage waveforms for the biphase rectifier with or without C1 present. Note that the ripple frequency 100 Hz is twice that of the half-wave circuit shown previously. T1 secondary voltage 17 minus 17. Voltage across RL without C1 present is 16.30. Voltage across RL with C1 filter present. Ripple 0 volts. Waveforms of the biphase rectifier. Working of bridge rectifier circuit. A full wave bridge rectifier arrangement is given in 6.15. Main voltage 240 volt is applied to the primary of a step-down transformer. Secondary winding provides 12 V RMS, approximately 17 volt peak, and has turns ratio 20:1. As before, positive half cycle. On positive half cycles, point A will be positive with respect to B. In this condition, D1 and D2 will allow conduction, while D3 and D4 will not allow conduction. Conversely, negative half cycles. On negative half cycles, point B will be positive with respect to A. In this condition, D3 and D4 will allow conduction, while D1 and D2 will not allow conduction. 240 volt, same thing, and in transformer, A and B 12 volts, and then 4 diodes connected as a bridge, D1, D2, D3, D4. Plus RL minus full wave bridge rectifier circuit. Figure 6.16 shows the bridge rectifier circuit with the diodes replaced by 4 switches. In this, D1 and D2 are conducting on a positive half cycle, while in figure 6.16, D3 and D4 are conducting. Once again, the result is the current is routed through the load in the same direction on a successive half cycles. As the biphase rectifier, the switching action of the two diodes results in a pulsating output voltage being developed across the load resistance. Once again, the peak output voltage is approximately 16.3 volts, that is 17 volts less than 0.7 volts forward threshold voltage. This is become switches. Bridge rectifier with the D1 and D2 conducting, D3 and D4 non-conducting. Bridge rectifier with the D1 and D2 non-conducting, D3 and D4 conducting. Figure 6.17 shows how a reservoir capacitor can be added to maintain the output voltage when the diodes are non-conducting. This component operates in exactly the same way as for the biphase circuit. That is, it charges to approximately 16.3 volts at the peak of the positive half cycle and holds the voltage at this level when the diodes are in their non-conducting states. This component operates in exactly the same way as for the biphases circuit. And the secondary and rectified output waveforms are shown in figure 6.18. Once again, note that the ripple frequency is twice that of the incoming AC supply. The diagram is bridge rectifier with a reservoir capacitor. T1 secondary voltage plus 17 minus 17, voltage across RL without C filter plus 16.3, voltage across RL with CI filter present, ripple 0 volts. Waveforms of the bridge rectifier. What is voltage regulator? Within each circuit diagram, explain the operation of a voltage regulation using Zener diodes. Voltage regulators. A simple voltage regulator is shown in figure 6.9. RS is included to limit the Zener current to a safe value when the load is disconnected. When a load RL is connected, the Zener current RS is included to. A simple voltage regulator is shown in 6.19. RS is included to limit the Zener current to a safe value when the load is disconnected. When a load is connected, the Zener current IZ will fall as current is diverted into load resistance. Output voltage will remain at the Zener voltage until regulation fails at a point at which the potential divider formed by RS and RL produces a lower output voltage that is less than VZ. The ratio of RS to RL is thus important. Unregulated input RS, then Zener diode, then RL, regulated output. Simple shunt Zener voltage regulator. At the point at which the circuit just begins to fails to regulate. VZ is equals to V in into RL by RL plus RS. VZ is equals to V in into RL by RL RS, where V in is the unregulated input voltage. Thus, the maximum value of RS can be RS max is equals to RL into V in by V in minus 1. Okay, RS max is equals to RL into V in by V in minus 1. The power dissipated in the Zener diode will be V1 by PZ is equals to IZ into VZ. Hence, the minimum value for RS can be determined from the off-load condition. RS minimum is equals to Vn minus Vz is equals by Iz. Vn minus Vz by Pz max into Vz. That is Vn minus Vz into Vz by Pz max. RS minimum is equals to Vn into Vz minus Vz square by Pz max, where Pz max is the maximum rated power dissipation for the Zener diode. Output resistance and voltage regulation. The perfect power supply, the output voltage would remain constant regardless of the current taken by the load. In practice, however, the output voltage with respect to power supply, output resistance, voltage resistance, output resistance in a perfect power supply, the output voltage would remain constant regardless of the current taken by the load. In practice, however, the output voltage falls as the load current increases. To account for this fact, we see that power supply has internal resistance. Ideally, this should be 0. This internal resistance appears at the voltage of the supply and is defined as the change in output voltage divided by the corresponding change in output current. R out, internal resistance, R out is equals to change in output voltage by change in output current, delta V out by delta I out, where delta I out represents a small change in output load current, delta V out represents a corresponding small change in the output voltage. The regulation of the power supply is given by the relationship regulation is equals to change in the output voltage by change in the line input current into 100%. Ideally, the value of regulation should be very small. Simple shunt Zener diode regulators of the type shown in 6.19 are capable of producing values of regulation of 5% to 10%. Voltage multiplier. By adding a second diode and capacitor, we can increase the output of the simple half-wave rectifier that we met earlier. The voltage doubler, using this technique as shown in the 6.25 in the arrangement, C1 will charge to the positive peak secondary voltage, while C2 will charge to the negative peak secondary voltage. Since the output is taken from C1 and C2 connected in series, the resulting output voltage is twice that produced by one diode alone, since both of them will conduct. Here is the diagram, circuit diagram. AC current, transformer, then diode 1, diode 2, C1 and C2 leads to RL. Voltage doubler. Voltage tripler, D1, D2 and D3. A voltage doubler can be extended to produce higher voltages using the cascade arrangement shown in 6.26. Here, capacitor charges to the positive peak secondary voltage and C1 charges to the positive peak secondary voltage, while C2 and C3 charge to twice the positive peak secondary voltage. The result is that the output voltage is the sum of the voltages across C1 and C3, which is 3 times the voltage that would be produced by the single diode. The ladder arrangement shown in figure 6.25 can be easily extended to provide even higher voltages, but the efficiency of the circuit becomes increasingly impaired, and higher order voltage multipliers of this type are only suitable for providing relatively small currents. The next topic is amplifiers. What is an amplifier? Explain the types of amplifier. Many different types of amplifier found in electronic circuit. First one, AC coupled amplifier. In AC coupled amplifier, stages are coupled together in such a way that DC levels are isolated and only the AC components of a signal are transferred from stage to stage. Stages are coupled together in such a way that DC levels are isolated and only the AC components of a signal are transferred from the stage to stage. DC coupled amplifier. In DC coupled amplifier, stages are coupled together in such a way that the stages are not isolated to DC potential. Both AC and DC signal components are transferred from stage to stage. Large signal amplifiers are designed to cater for appreciable voltage or current levels, typically from 1 volt to 100 volt or more. Designed to cater for appreciable voltage and or current levels, typically from 1 volt to 100 volt. Small signal amplifiers are designed to cater for low level signals, normally less than 1 volt and often much smaller. Small signal amplifier have to be specially designed to combat the effects of noise. Audio frequency amplifiers operate in the band of frequencies that is normally associated with audio signals. Audio frequency amplifiers operate in the band of frequencies that is normally associated with audio signals, that is 20 Hz to 20k Hz. Wideband amplifiers. Wideband amplifiers are capable of amplifying a very wide range of frequencies, typically from few 10 of Hz to several megahertz. Radio frequency amplifier. A radio frequency amplifier operates in the band of frequencies that is normally associated with radio signals, that is from 100 kHz to 1 GHz. Low noise amplifiers. Low noise amplifiers are designed so that they contribute negligible noise or signal disturbance to the signal being amplified. These amplifiers are usually designed for using with very small signal levels, usually less than 10 MB or so on. Explain the following with respect to amplifier. Gain. One of the most important parameters of an amplifier is the amount of amplification or gain that it provides. Gain is simply the ratio of output voltage to input voltage, output current to input current, output power to input power. Gain. These three ratios give respectively the voltage gain, current gain, and power gain. Thus, voltage gain AV V out is by V in, current gain AI out by I in, power gain AP P out by P in, I in V in, input output I out V out. Block diagram for an amplifier showing input and output voltages. AP is equals to P out by P in. That is I out into V out by I in into V in. I out by I in into V out by V in. That is equal to AI into AV. AP is equals to AI into AV. Input and output resistance. Definition of input resistance. Input resistance is the ratio of input voltage to the input current. It is expressed in ohms. The input of an amplifier is normally purely resistive in the middle of its working frequency range, that is midband. In some cases, the reactance of the input may become appreciable. In such cases, we should refer to input impedance rather than input resistance. Amplifier, RN or out. Input, output. Input and output resistance is seen looking into the input and output terminals respectively. Definition of output resistance. Output resistance is the ratio of open circuit output voltage to short circuit output voltage, output current, and is measured in ohms. As with the input resistance and output of an amplifier is normally purely resistive, and we can safely ignore any reactive component. If this is not the case, we would once again need to refer the outer impedance rather than output resistance. Explain the frequency response characteristics for various types of amplifiers such as audio frequency, AC coupled, DC coupled, wideband radio frequency. Frequency response. The frequency response characteristics for various types of amplifier are shown in figure 7.9. Note that for response curves of this type, frequency is almost invariably plotted on logarithmic scale. The frequency response of an amplifier is usually specified in terms of the upper and lower cutoff frequencies of the amplifier. These frequencies are those at which the output power has dropped to 50%, otherwise known as the 3 dB points, or where the voltage gain has dropped to 70.7% of its midband value. Radio frequency gain, audio frequency, wideband, DC coupled, 10 to 100 kHz, audio frequency 0 to 100 M, that is wideband, after 100 M, radio frequency gain, DC coupled. This is a figure of frequency response and bandwidth, output power plotted against frequency. Bandwidth. Bandwidth of an amplifier is usually taken as the difference between the upper and lower cutoff frequencies. F2 to F1 in figure 7.10 and 7.11. The bandwidth of an amplifier must be sufficient to accommodate the range of frequencies present within the signals. That it is so presented with many signals contain harmonic components. Difference between upper and lower cutoff frequencies. That is, signals are 2F, 3F, 4F, etc. where F is the frequency of fundamental signal. Bandwidth F1, F2, half Pmax, Pmax. Voltage gain AV max, F1, F2 frequency 0.707 AV max. To reproduce a square wave, for example, requires an amplifier with a very wide bandwidth. Clearly, it is not possible to perfectly reproduce such a wave, but it does explain why it can be desirable for an amplifier's bandwidth to greatly exceed the higher signal frequency that it is required to handle. Phase shift. Phase shift is a phase angle between the input and output signal voltages measured in degrees. The measurement is usually carried out in mid-band, where for most amplifiers the phase shift remains relatively constant. Note also that the conventional single-stage transistor amplifiers provide phase shift of either 180 degree or 360 degree. Advantages: negative feedback in amplifier. settle with relevant equations diagrams. Many practical amplifiers use negative feedback in order to precisely control the gain, reduce distortion, and improve bandwidth. Many practical amplifiers use negative feedback in order to precisely control the gain. Many practical amplifiers use negative feedback in order to precisely control the gain, reduce distortion, and improve bandwidth. The gain can be reduced to manageable value by feeding back a small proportion of output amplifier and output. Many practical amplifiers negative feedback in order to precisely control the gain, reduce distortion, improve bandwidth. The gain can be reduced to manageable value by feeding back a small proportion of output. Feeding back. Input amplifier or gain AP phase shift of 180 degree that goes to amplifier's output. V out then again goes to feedback network feedback ratio beta phase shift 180 degree beta V out voltage feedback beta V out and again input V in. Amplifier with negative feedback applied. The amount of feedback determines the overall or closed loop gain. Because this form of feedback has the effect of reducing the overall gain of the current circuit, this form of feedback is known as negative feedback. An alternative form of feedback where the output is fed back in such a way that as to reinforce the input rather than to subtract them from it is known as positive feedback. This form of feedback is used in oscillator circuit. Shows the block diagram of an amplifier stage with negative feedback applied in this circuit. The proportion of the output voltage fed back to the input is given by beta. And the overall voltage gain will be given by G. Overall gain G, V out by V in. V in is equals to V in minus beta V out. We are applying Kirchhoff's voltage law. V in dash is equals to V in minus beta V out. V in is equals to V in dash plus beta V out, and or V out is equals to AV into V in. Note that AV is the internal gain. AV into V in. Hence overall gain G is equals to AV into V in by V in plus beta V out. That is AV into V dash in plus beta AV into V dash in. Thus G is equals to A plus 1 plus AV into beta. Hence the overall gain with negative feedback applied will be less than that the gain without feedback. Furthermore, if AV is very large, the overall gain with negative feedback applied will be G is equals to 1 by beta when AV is very large. Note also the loop gain of the feedback amplifier is dependent on the product of beta and AV. Negative feedback. Multi-stage amplifiers. In order to provide sufficiently large values of gain, it is frequently necessary to use the number of interconnected stages within an amplifier. The overall gain of an amplifier with several stages, that is multi-stage amplifier with several stages, that is multi-stage amplifier, is simply the product of individual voltage gains equals to AV1 into AV2 into AV3, etc. Vin is equal to C R first stage, R out, C second stage, R C V out. Typical RC coupling between stages. CL first stage, LC second stage, LCV out. We in typical transformer coupling, supply of T1, then T2, then T3, first stage, second stage, third stage. Typical direct coupling between two stages. Illustrates different methods used for interstage coupling. Illustrates different methods of interstage coupling. This is a typical two-stage high-gain RC coupled common emitter amplifier. Note, however, that the bandwidth of the multi-stage amplifier will be less than the bandwidth of each individual.
Thank you for watching. Do like, share and subscribe to my channel.